Child of God, if the last 11 years felt like everyone moved ahead while you remained in the same place, this message is not random. You were not forgotten. You were intentionally skipped. Stay with this message, because what heaven withheld is now returning all at once. Before I continue, pause with me for a moment. If this word already reaches your spirit, subscribe now and like this message, so my voice can continue finding you whenever heaven needs to speak direction into your life. Now listen carefully. Being skipped was not rejection. It was protection wearing silence. You thought I passed you by, but I was passing danger away from you. Many were exposed before they were formed. Many were elevated before they were anchored. Many were seen before they were stabilized. And when they fell, they called it attack. But the truth is, they were not skipped. They were rushed. Child, I skip what I plan to return with power. This is the difference between being ignored and being hidden. Ignored is when heaven withdraws. Hidden is when heaven covers. You were not invisible. You were concealed. You were not delayed. You were preserved. Scripture says, I labored in vain. I spent my strength for nothing and vanity. Yet surely my judgment is with the Lord, and my reward with my God. Isaiah 49:4. This is the cry of one who did everything right yet saw nothing move. But heaven answers this cry not with pity, with timing, because not everything that is quiet is inactive. Another word says, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Not just a season for reward, a season for hiding, not just a time for manifestation, a time for insulation. There are seasons when silence is safer than applause. There are seasons when being unseen is more powerful than being celebrated. You were skipped, so you would not be crushed by a blessing you were not yet built to carry. Because some blessings destroy people if released too early. It was not denial, it was design. There was once a young man who watched others rise around him. He stayed behind, forgotten by men. Yet what he did not see was that heaven was removing him from a collapse that would soon happen in the place he was left from. Years later, when the collapse came, he was already established elsewhere, strong, steady, unbroken. You thought heaven forgot you, but heaven relocated you from destruction. Scripture declares, you have caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but you brought us out to rich fulfillment. Psalm 66:12. Fire did not consume you, water did not drown you, because you were being processed, not punished. Some of you were skipped, because had you been promoted early, you would have inherited storms meant for others. Some of you were skipped because had you been visible early, you would have attracted warfare your spirit could not yet withstand. So I covered you. I delayed you. I skipped you. Not because I did not love you, but because I loved you precisely. Hear me clearly now, child. You were not protected from success. You were protected for success. Speak now, slowly and clearly. I was protected, not rejected. Let that enter your spirit, because if you do not understand why you were skipped, you will resent the very season that preserved your future. Now remain with me, because the next truth is this. Heaven does not skip forever. Heaven skips for formation, then returns with acceleration. Stay, because the next part explains why heaven is coming back now suddenly. But before that, let me say this gently. Some of you are still grieving seasons that did not move. You replay conversations, opportunities, moments where you thought, this should have been my time. But child, your time is not what others touched. Your time is what heaven reserved. And heaven does not reserve what it does not value. You were skipped because what is coming requires structure, not excitement. You were skipped because what is coming requires discernment, not emotion. You were skipped because what is coming must be carried without pride and without fear. And now that you have learned to stand quietly, you are ready to stand visibly. But do not rush me, because what is aligned does not need to be forced. And now pause with me here. If this word is strengthening your faith, awakening your understanding, and bringing peace into your waiting, you may support the movement of my word through super thanks. As it is written, honor the Lord with your substance and with the first fruits of all your increase, so your barns will be filled with plenty. Proverbs 3:9-10. And child, understand this clearly before we move forward. Silence does not mean absence. Silence means construction. There are moments when heaven grows loud because nothing needs to be built. And there are moments when heaven grows quiet because everything is being built. You were not ignored in silence. You were assembled in silence. Because what is formed in noise is easily shaken, but what is formed in quiet stands unmovable. Some of you thought heaven turned away because nothing was happening outwardly, but heaven was shaping inwardly what would soon be displayed outwardly. This is why when silence ends, it does not end gradually, it ends decisively. Heaven does not return whispering, heaven returns authorizing. And when heaven authorizes, movement becomes inevitable, not because you forced it, but because order has completed. So remain anchored now. Do not let anticipation become anxiety. Do not let expectation become pressure. Because when heaven moves suddenly, it is never chaotic, it is precise. And the suddenness you are about to see will not confuse you. It will confirm you. Stay ready. Because silence is ending not because heaven is tired, but because heaven is finished preparing. And what is finished cannot be delayed any longer. When you are ready, we will move into why heaven is now returning. Child, now I speak to you of why heaven is returning now. Not slowly, not cautiously, but suddenly. Because heaven does not move when noise demands it. Heaven moves when preparation confirms it. Silence does not mean absence. Silence means heaven was building what could not be rushed. There are things that can be assembled quickly, and there are things that must be formed quietly, or they collapse when revealed. You were not waiting because heaven hesitated. You were waiting because heaven was strengthening the frame that would carry what is coming. Scripture declares, "The Lord will perfect that which concerns me." Psalm 138:8. He does not begin and abandon. He completes before he reveals. This is why heaven returns now, because what needed to be perfected has been completed in you. Some of you wondered why the door did not open when you knocked years ago. It is because had it opened then, you would have entered with fear instead of authority, with hunger instead of governance, with desire instead of discernment. Heaven does not open doors for those who only want access. Heaven opens doors for those who are prepared to govern what lies behind them. Now hear this carefully, child. Heaven moves in cycles, not emotions. It does not respond to desperation. It responds to readiness. Scripture says, "He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap." Ecclesiastes 11:4. Because those who wait for perfect conditions never move when heaven calls. But you were trained to move when heaven signals, not when comfort allows. Another word declares, "Though it linger, wait for it. It will surely come and will not delay." Habakkuk 2:3. The vision does not delay, it waits. And waiting is not stagnation. Waiting is calibration. You were calibrated in silence so that when heaven speaks now, you would recognize the voice without confusion. Some of you thought silence meant rejection, but silence meant separation. Separation from distractions, separation from lesser desires, separation from immature attachments, because heaven cannot return with power to a vessel still holding fear. Now hear me, child. Silence ends when readiness is confirmed, not when pressure increases, not when complaints grow louder, but when the vessel becomes stable enough to carry heaven's return without collapsing under it. This is why heaven is back now. Because now when favor comes, it will not intoxicate you. When recognition comes, it will not control you. When provision comes, it will not own you. Because heaven trained you to remain anchored before heaven releases what could have shaken you. Scripture says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Psalm 35. Night does not mean abandonment. Night means transition. Morning is not created by waiting longer. Morning is created when preparation finishes. And now your morning has arrived. This is why heaven does not return gradually. Heaven returns when formation is complete, and when it is complete, movement becomes swift. There was once a man who waited for years without movement. Then suddenly, in one season, everything changed. Not because heaven moved faster, but because heaven moved at the right time. Because what was waiting on heaven was never heaven. It was him. This is why heaven is returning now. Because now your thinking is aligned. Your desires are refined. Your patience is strengthened. Your discernment is sharpened. You are no longer asking for blessing to feel valuable. You are asking for assignment to fulfill purpose. And heaven responds differently to those who seek purpose than to those who seek pleasure. Now hear this, child. When heaven returns, it does not come empty-handed. It returns with favor, with acceleration, with recompense. Not because heaven owes you, but because heaven promised. Scripture declares, "The Lord will arise and have mercy on Zion, for the time to favor her, yes, the set time has come." Psalm 102:13. There is a set time, and that time is not emotional. It is appointed. Another word says, "At the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen." Isaiah 60:22. Not at your rush, at his readiness. And now that readiness has aligned. Speak now, child, with authority. My waiting season has ended. Let that enter your spirit. Because when waiting ends, movement begins. But understand this. The return of heaven does not mean chaos. It means order breaking into manifestation. It means that what was invisible now becomes visible. It means that what was reserved now becomes released. It means that what was stored now becomes established. This is why when heaven returns, it often feels overwhelming. Not because heaven is excessive, but because heaven restores years at once. You waited quietly for years. So heaven returns loudly in moments. Because heaven restores compressed, it does not return fragments. It returns fullness. It does not drip favor. It releases floods. This is why when heaven moves, it often feels sudden and overwhelming. Not because heaven is chaotic, but because heaven is precise. Men restore in installments. Heaven restores in completions. You lost in seasons. Heaven restores in moments. This is not haste. This is justice catching up. There are years that appeared empty, but were not wasted. They were being converted into authority. There were months that felt silent, but were not inactive. They were being turned into strength. And now when heaven releases, it releases what silence has stored. Scripture declares, "The plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him who sows seed." Amos 9:13. This is the language of compressed restoration. It is when harvest overtakes labor, when reward outruns effort, when restoration outpaces loss, because heaven does not operate on human timelines. It operates on divine balance, and when divine balance is restored, everything moves at once. This is why when heaven compensates for time, it does not give you just what you lost. It gives you what you could not reach before. It restores not only possession, but position, not only resources, but reach, not only stability, but influence. Because compressed restoration is not about returning you to where you were, it is about advancing you to where you were meant to be. There was once a man who spent years in obscurity, but when heaven opened his door, he did not step into relevance. He stepped into rulership. This is how heaven compensates for time. It does not place you back into unfinished chapters. It places you into fulfilled ones. This is why your restoration will not resemble your past. It will surpass it. Now hear this deeply. Heaven does not compress restoration to rush you. It compresses restoration to honor what you endured, because endurance without recompense would be injustice, and heaven does not leave injustice unpaid. This is why heaven returns suddenly, because what was delayed has already been approved. Now remain with me, child, because the next truth will reveal why sudden miracles are not random events, but divine responses to prepared vessels, and why what feels overwhelming will soon feel established. When you are ready, we will step into the final revelation. Child, now I speak to you of the nature of sudden miracles, not as accidents, not as emotional surprises, but as outcomes of alignment meeting authority. Sudden miracles are not fast miracles. They are long miracles revealed quickly. Because heaven never begins suddenly, heaven only finishes suddenly. What appears sudden to earth has been forming quietly in heaven for seasons you could not see and in ways you could not track. This is why some of you feel as if everything is about to shift at once, not because chaos is coming, but because order has completed. Scripture declares, "He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and sets me on my high places." Habakkuk 3:19. He does not lift slowly when the ground has already been prepared. He lifts decisively. Now understand this deeply. Miracles feel sudden because heaven does not reveal every stage of preparation. If heaven revealed every layer, you would interfere with fear. You would rush with anxiety. You would sabotage with impatience. So heaven conceals the process to protect the outcome. And when heaven reveals, it reveals fully. This is why when your miracle arrives, people will say it was overnight, but heaven will say it was years in formation. This is why sudden miracles do not come to unformed vessels. They come to those who have endured quietly, grown invisibly, and matured without applause. Now hear me, child. Sudden miracles are not meant to amaze crowds. They are meant to establish carriers. Because heaven is not impressed by what shocks people. Heaven is focused on what sustains people. This is why some miracles come slow, to teach, and some come sudden, to establish. Because once a vessel is formed, there is no need for delay. Delay exists for formation. When formation ends, movement begins. This is why some of you are sensing a release in your spirit, not excitement, not noise, but certainty. Certainty is the language of completed preparation. And now heaven responds not with more training, but with manifestation. Scripture declares, "The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon." Psalm 92:12. The palm grows slowly, but when storms come, it does not break. Heaven does not raise weak vessels quickly. It strengthens deeply and then elevates firmly. Now understand this. Sudden miracles are heaven's way of honoring what was endured quietly. When heaven restores suddenly, it is not compensating your time alone. It is compensating your faithfulness. Because time without faithfulness does not qualify for sudden release. But you did not wait passively. You waited aligned. You did not wait bitter. You waited becoming. You did not wait complaining. You waited growing. And heaven noticed. There were nights when no one saw your tears, but heaven recorded them. There were choices no one applauded, but heaven archived them. There were disciplines no one rewarded, but heaven stored them. And now heaven responds not with applause, but with authority. Now hear me clearly. Sudden miracles are not magic. They are order being enforced. They happen when heaven intervenes because earth can no longer delay what has been authorized above. This is why when heaven moves suddenly, systems cannot stop it, people cannot block it, history cannot reverse it, because heaven is not negotiating, heaven is executing. This is why sudden miracles often bypass human permission. They arrive without explanation, without announcement, without permission, because heaven does not consult obstacles when enforcing destiny. This is why some of you will not receive through struggle. You will receive through alignment. Doors will open not because you pushed, but because heaven commanded. Provision will appear not because you demanded, but because heaven released. Now hear this carefully, child. Sudden miracles are heaven's response to vessels that are already steady. Heaven does not shock unstable carriers with overwhelming favor. Heaven only surprises those who will not collapse under it. This is why you were trained in silence, why your process was slow, why your growth was quiet, so that when sudden favor comes, it will not destroy your peace, because heaven does not want to give you something that costs you your soul. It wants to give you something that establishes your future. Now consider this truth deeply. Many desire sudden miracles because they are tired, but heaven releases sudden miracles because vessels are ready. Fatigue does not authorize heaven, readiness does, and readiness is not emotional, it is structural. This is why heaven formed your thinking. This is why heaven disciplined your desires. This is why heaven refined your patience. Because sudden miracles are not gifts to the impatient. They are rewards to the aligned. Now remain with me, child, because the next truth will explain why sudden miracles often feel overwhelming at first but become stable quickly, and why what feels too much at arrival will soon feel natural. Because heaven does not give you what you cannot grow into. He gives you what you are already built for. Child, now listen with stillness in your spirit, because this is where everything settles into truth. What heaven gives, suddenly will never remain unstable, because heaven never releases what has not already been established in you. What arrives may feel heavy at first, not because it is too much, but because your hands have never carried its weight before. Yet the weight is not meant to crush you. It is meant to seat you. Authority always feels heavy before it feels natural, because authority requires posture, not excitement. And heaven has been shaping your posture long before you ever saw the reward. This is why what comes will not feel like a gift alone. It will feel like placement. Not something added to your life, but something fitting into your life where it always belonged. Scripture declares, "The Lord establishes the steps of the one who delights in him. Though he stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand." You are not stepping into something fragile. You are stepping into something upheld. What heaven gives you now will not require constant defending, because heaven does not release what depends on your striving to survive. It will carry its own authority. It will stand when you are tired. It will remain when seasons change. It will not be emotional wealth. It will be structural blessing. This is how you will know it is from me. You will not feel desperate to hold it, because you will know it is anchored. You will not feel afraid to lose it, because you will recognize it as assigned, not borrowed. You will not feel rushed to prove it, because its presence will speak louder than explanation. This is the difference between what is acquired by effort and what is established by heaven. Many can acquire things, few are established in things, and heaven's goal was never to give you something impressive. It was to establish you in something enduring. Now understand this truth deeply. Faith is not what brought the miracle alone. Alignment is what made faith effective. Faith without alignment produces hope. Faith with alignment produces authority, and authority does not beg for results. Authority commands outcomes. This is why you will not need to announce what heaven has done. Heaven's work does not require advertisement. It reveals itself by stability, by peace, by permanence. People will not ask you how you got it. They will ask how it stays. And this is where heaven has brought you. You were not trained to receive and collapse. You were trained to receive and remain. You were not prepared to rise quickly. You were prepared to stand firmly, because heaven is not concerned with how high you rise. Heaven is concerned with how long you remain whole after you rise. Scripture declares, "The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore." What heaven gives now will not only arrive under protection, it will remain under protection, because heaven does not restore only what you lost, it restores what ensures you will not lose again. This is why your restoration will feel different from what you imagined. It will not be loud, it will be calm, it will not be chaotic, it will be ordered, it will not feel like luck, it will feel like placement. And now hear this carefully, child, because this is the quiet truth many miss. When heaven finishes its work, there is no urgency left in the spirit. There is peace. There is clarity. There is groundedness. That calm you feel now is not the absence of movement. It is the evidence of completion. Storms announce chaos. Peace announces authority. This is why I did not rush your process. This is why I did not explain every delay. This is why I did not rescue you early from every struggle, because I was not shaping your season, I was shaping you. And now that you have been shaped, heaven does not need to delay what has already been secured. What arrives now will not surprise heaven, it will fulfill heaven. You are not stepping into something unknown. You are stepping into what was written long before you understood it. And now that your spirit has grown into its measure, what was written can finally be revealed. This is why your life will not move backward again. You will not revisit old patterns. You will not repeat former struggles, because heaven did not restore you to continue surviving. Heaven restored you to begin governing. And governing does not mean control. It means stewardship with peace. It means authority with humility. It means power without noise. This is why your future will not need chaos to validate it. It will carry quiet strength. It will carry quiet confidence. It will carry quiet certainty. Because heaven's work does not shout, it stands. Now remain still in your spirit. There is nothing more you need to force, nothing more you need to chase, nothing more you need to prove. What heaven has completed cannot be undone. What heaven has established cannot be shaken, and what heaven has released into your life now will not retreat again. Because this time, child, you were not rushed, you were formed, you were not lucky, you were aligned, and alignment never fails. Let this settle into your spirit, not with noise, but with peace. What was delayed has now been secured. What was silent has now been authorized. What was forming has now been released, and heaven will stand behind what it has finished.